Stop messing around, stop fooling around, stop delaying, stop procrastinating. Get up, get out, get it done. Everything is possible, nothing is a problem, and anything can be overcome. I just get my ass up out of bed, I get my shit together, and I get out and I start the fight. And that will transform you from a mere mortal into a superhuman being. I've never, ever, ever met anybody who told me that they got rich watching their IRA or their 401k.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. My name's George Robson.
Welcome to the Daily Cash Flow. I'm Peter Siegel.
Hell yeah. Peter, I heard of this term that I've never heard before this week, PropTech.
Yeah.
That,
what do you mean you never heard of that?
Well, I think you're in the industry, you're probably familiar with it. I hadn't heard it before, but it's apparently exploding in search engines over the last 2 years, property technology. Mm-hmm. And things like Zillow, obviously we know about for a long time, but there's other new companies kind of like VergeSense, which optimizes office layout. Right. Open Door does like scheduling home tours for people without agents, that kind of thing. Is this tech surge good for business? And how do you kind of approach when new technologies enter into your arena?
First question first. So is it good for business? Is it good for my business? I mean, I'm in the apartment building business. Typically, owning and managing apartment buildings is historically unsexy, unsophisticated, unadvanced. So any sort of technological advancement, I think, is a welcome thing in my business, in my industry. Now, whether or not everybody in my industry embraces it or not, that's their own individual decision. I've always embraced technology. I want to be on the cutting edge. I want to have advantages over my competition. I want to be best in class. I want to be cutting edge. So all of that stuff sort of dictates that I embrace the technology. I think all of that stuff's been a welcome addition to our world over the past several years. And it's interesting, that stuff has been on a tear and a big surge in PropTech over the past several years. What we're finding now in our industry is that the pandemic has slowed that surge down, and it's forcing real estate owners and managers to deploy more traditional ownership and management strategies versus dipping into a budget which isn't there this year and purchasing new tech and subscribing to new tech and services and training the staff on all this new stuff. I mean, that stuff's sort of taken a pause recently, but it's a temporary pause because our industry is hungry for advancement and technology solutions, and this pandemic has revealed so many reasons why. I mean, and you just mentioned one. I mean, we can do now virtual showings, but meaningful virtual showings. It used to be just like, FaceTiming someone while walking through. I mean, you could still do that. There's a few other ways to do that now. And it's meaningful because people might not be able to get to you, or they may not want to get to you for safety reasons, for complying with local rules and guidelines reasons. So the tech is a solution for that. And there's management solutions, there's financial solutions, marketing, advertising solutions, social media strategies. So there's all sorts of digital and technology strategies which we can now deploy in our industry, which are most recently available to us. It's just great. I mean, we can now be on a playing field with so many other industries, if not the rest of the world, whereas before it was just like, oh, we're just sleepy old property owners and managers in a basement office and with a flickering fluorescent light and, signing paper leases and sticking things in the mail. I mean, with DocuSign and eSign and Adobe Sign and email and user login, credential portal access so that people have access to documents and reports. And I mean, it's great. I mean, we have to have less intensity at the office with the support staff because technology fills that role, and we can now communicate with our residents electronically and securely, whereas before perhaps we couldn't. We now need way fewer file cabinets to hold massive amounts of paperwork and documentation for each building, because now we can store things electronically and access them remotely. So these are all great things that are reducing the footprint of a property owner or manager in their management effort and potentially reducing the head count in the office that it takes to run the same amount of units under management. I mean, I'm all for it. I suggest for anybody out there to do a deep dive in all the various technology solutions that are now available to us in our business and find some that work for you. There's a bunch. I have this conversation a lot. It's sort of turned into a joke now. My brother, who's in a similar business as I'm in, but in retail and office, we always sort of gently beat each other up and poke at each other for fun. And we'll always say, oh, technology, yeah, technology. But it's true. I mean, when I see him cutting checks from some sort of remote financial platform on his phone or an app or something, I'm like, Jeff, what are you doing? He's like, technology, I'm paying my bills, or, you know, technology, I'm signing leases, technology. So I think I'm going back to probably 2007 when my brother and I first started with that joking with each other about technology. But now we're in 2020, soon to be 2021, and we're all about it. And if you don't embrace it, you're going to get left behind. That goes to seeking change and be adaptable and be able to pivot and change with the times. So the times are now offering us these great solutions. You got to be able to embrace it, because you're going to get stepped on if you don't.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. Have you seen colleagues or competitors be slow to embrace kind of new advents?
I have.
Yeah.
I have. I've seen, and that's only good for me if they're in my market, so they can sit back and be slow and, you know, stick their thumb up their asses or whatever they want to do about it. I'm going to plow forward. And technology and the advancements in management tools that are available to me now are going to enable me to just capture more market share, be faster to market, move more swiftly, capture applicants and prospective tenants in the marketplace more quickly than they can catch them. So they can do whatever they want. I don't really run my business based on what other people do or don't do, but yeah, I do see people sitting back and acting slow to embrace and adopt these technologies. And I see other people being on the forefront of it. I mean, up until the pandemic, I was seeing my peers in the major urban market really embracing technology more quickly and more widely. Out in secondary and tertiary markets, outside of the MSAs and the major urban centers, you have these other markets where maybe people aren't as sophisticated and they're a little bit slower to get it. But I see it, and the marketplace of people out there are going to perform however they perform. I can't kick everybody in the ass to hurry up and hop on the horse. So if they want to take their time or not, sign up for apps or technology or services, whatever they think is best for them. Yeah, I mean, someone that owns a portfolio of 10,000 units is going to have different needs than someone that owns a portfolio of 100 units.
Totally. Yeah. So just kind of knowing your asset, knowing your needs and all that.
Yeah.
Summer's coming to a close, or I guess it is.
Bummer.
Really close. That
Yep.
is a bummer. And the holidays are coming up. You got Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and all that.
You're like part of that depressing subculture of people that's like, are you putting up the Christmas trees now? Like,
Right. I'm
why are you rushing me into it?
I'm playing Mariah Carey in my car already.
I still have these nice weekends where the weather can be great and maybe I'm going to be outdoors somewhere, and you're like rushing me into the holidays.
Eating my Halloween candy on the beach. So my question is, do you shift gears at this point with your business? Does business pretty much stay the same? And how do you handle that?
I've told you before, my business has its cycles like all businesses do. My business cycles are monthly and then annually. I don't really have a cycle that begins or ends with the end of summer or the approaching of the holiday season. Those two things and times of the year don't really impact me at all. So I really focus on my busy rental season, which is typically January through June, and try to keep my eye on the ball otherwise on macroeconomic events. So interest rates have been very low this year so far, and then oddly enough, today the Fed announced that they intend on keeping interest rates very low for the foreseeable future, up to several years out.
Yeah, Powell's been very outspoken about that.
Right. So that's going to be a very market favorable condition for people in my industry to now operate within. And really, I'm focused on supply and demand factors, the availability of quality apartment housing in my market, if there's a lot of it or a little of it, and then I'll make decisions on pricing and marketing based on what supply and demand is telling me. I'll look at new housing starts. If there's someone next door down the road who's going up out of the ground with new apartment rental housing, a new building that they're building from the ground up that didn't exist last year, but now next year it's going to exist. I mean, that's going to come online. It's going to compete with me. I have to understand what the competition is going to be. Are they going to be priced where my product is priced? Or are they going to be at a higher price point so I can leave them alone and let them do their thing because we're going after different segments of the market? I mean, those are the types of things that will drive my day-to-day and monthly and annual business decisions, more macro factors like that. I mean, the summer ending and the holidays coming. The summer ending is just a bummer for us here in our market at the shore, George, because we just love being down here. We love being outside. The holidays, all I can think about is how fucked up 2020's been for everybody this year. And I hope the holidays are a happy time for people. And we don't know what it's going to be. It's a few months out, but I hope that things perhaps improve and continue to improve worldwide, in our area, everywhere, so that we can maybe enjoy holidays a little bit this year. That I'd love to see, but that's not a business issue for me. That's just a wish that I have for everybody. You mentioned the holidays coming up, but those things don't really impact my business. So I just sort of stick to the fundamentals of macroeconomic factors, supply and demand, interest rates, competition, and try and do what I think is best for our portfolio and for our residents and for our team on a daily and weekly basis.
Yeah, stay in the course.
I think so.
I have a listener question.
From?
TikTok, going back to the classic.
Love it.
And
love it.
Yeah, this TikTok listener really needs some help. They said, I can't get a job in my chosen field. I feel like giving up. Any advice?
Did they say what their chosen field is or no?
They didn't mention it in this one, but I can maybe put it in the show notes.
So I think first you have to exhaust all of the normal channels. I don't know what industry this person's seeking to get into, but you have to really be aggressive. You have to stand out. We've talked about these things. You have to have good presentation skills, good eye contact, so speak well, impress people. So if you're having meetings trying to get in through a door, make sure that you're checking those boxes and you look right and you sound right and you have the knowledge to talk the talk a little bit. So otherwise, I think you've got to find the person that's in your area that's excelling at the thing that you want to do, that's doing the thing that you wish you were doing. Hunt them down and offer to work for free for 3 months, for 6 months. Show up early, stay late, work nights and weekends if you have a main job that doesn't afford you to work for free right now. Maybe you can tag along on special projects or work nights. You can come after your other job ends. Do it for free for 3 or 6 months. You're going to gain contacts, you're going to gain experience, you're going to be in the door in the industry that you want to be in. You're going to have to try this 2, 3, 5, 7 times. I mean, you're not going to get a yes on the first time you find someone and ask them if you can work for them for free. But you will get a yes eventually. So if you're having trouble breaking in, come in that way. I mean, make it what you can deliver to them as opposed to what they're going to be delivering to you. You have to be comfortable with just getting contacts, knowledge, and experience out of this deal. And if they hire you, then great. But really, what's going to drive a hiring decision is how much you slay them and how much you blow the doors off of them in those 3 or 6 months. So it's up to you. If you get in the door, you got to crush. And if you crush, and if you're impressive, they're not going to want to let you go. I think 9 out of 10 times you're going to get a job offer.
And kind of creating your own internship there.
You got to create, look, you don't wake up in the morning and have a slew of opportunity next to your bed fanned out like a deck of cards that you can then go choose from. It's up to you to go seek it out, find it, have a radar screen that allows you to openly look for it and identify what opportunities are. And if you can't find the opportunity you want, create the opportunity that you need.
As far as them giving up, do you have any particular advice about that feeling? I know you haven't really had that feeling in a long time.
It's never over until it's over, right? We've heard that our whole lives, right? Until the fat lady sings or there's so many other examples, but it's never over until it's over. And just expect no to everything. If you wake up knowing that you're gonna have a bunch of no's, you're gonna be super prepared to just plow through your day and not be impacted by the no's. I wake up every day, I know everything's gonna be a no. I'm not gonna have yeses just being thrown at me for everything I want or need or I'm going for. I have to create a yes. So never stop. It's never over until it's over. And just because 1 or 100 people say no, keep going. I mean, there's always another angle. There's always another solution. You haven't found it yet, but I promise you, if you stop, you're not going to find it. And I promise you that if you keep going, the odds of finding it only increase. So don't stop, keep going, and there's always another solution. And it's so funny. I mean, I watch so many leaders and people in business and politicians in our world today, and I see that there's almost like a common thread between people who are able to generate success and generate a yes and generate forward movement. And I think, to me, what I see a lot of the times is that it's sort of like their analysis, their consideration and math that they're doing before they take whatever action it is that they want to do, is that they say, all right, well, is what I'm about to do going to result in the death of myself or someone else, right? No, check. Is what I'm about to do going to result in destruction or damage to property or equipment? No, check, right? Is what I'm about to do going to, orphan my kid or hurt somebody physically? No, check. Okay, let's do it. Like we'll triage and damage control after the fact, but I'm moving forward. It's almost like that's what they do.
Yeah, building the plane in the air.
Yeah, right, building a plane in the air. George Robson, everybody, building a plane in the air. So I see that a lot with people, and it's an amazing trait to have, because if you do too much analysis, you get analysis paralysis. Right? If you overthink it, you're not going to be able to move forward. If you overthink it, you're going to spend your resources, time, and energy thinking rather than doing. I mean, at some point, you have to put your pencil down, and at some point, you have to get your ass up out of the chair and go. Right? It's up to you to figure out the when on both of those things. But if you overthink stuff, it's going to be difficult. I'm not saying don't do analysis. Do analysis. I'm not saying don't think about it and plan and consider all the routes and options. Do that stuff. But at some point, you got to be comfortable with your analysis, and you got to get up and go and get out and get it done. So I don't think it's ever over. So if you're out there looking to get into a job or an industry and you get a couple of no's, so what? I mean, you should expect 1,000,000 no's. And if you only get 7 or 8 no's, I mean, shit, you're doing well right now. So it's never over until it's over. Keep plugging away. Find another angle. Find another entrance door. Find another route to take. Offer to work for free. Sacrifice nights and weekends for as much time as it takes to achieve what you want. And when you're in the door, and you will get in the door eventually, you got to blow them away. No regular stuff, no typical normal stuff. You have to blow them away. You want to leave people with the taste in their mouth like, holy shit, who is this person? Where did they come from? And how do we fucking keep them here forever? Like, that's what you want to leave someone with. Not like, holy shit, who is this person that we let in our doors, and when are they fucking leaving? Because this is annoying and aggravating and just a burden, right? You don't want them to think that. So keep at it and just make sure that you perform and you impress.
Do you have any hardline rules about money that you're strict with, that you maintain for yourself or for your business?
Hardline rules about money. I think, looking back on my life personally, I think my spending habits personally were always, like the old saying goes, buy quality, buy once, and I think maybe I'm reminded of that when you ask me this question. I think the biggest thing I think of when I think about rules about money is that we all need to be talking more about money, and we haven't been. So I would say, in addition to spending for yourself or for your business, or how you budget your money, or whatever personal or business decisions you might make with money, I think speak more about money with a lot of different people. Find people that are successful, that are mentors. Ask them how they got there. Ask them what they invest in. Ask them what things cost. Ask them how much they think you can make if you do this deal or take action on this business. I mean, ask and talk about it. No one's talking about money because we're taught from a very young age that it's a taboo topic, that it's none of your business, it's none of my business. So don't ask how much someone makes, or don't ask what something's worth, or don't ask, hey, how did you get there? You bought that building 2 years ago and now it's worth 5 times more. How did that happen? Can you run me through that?
Peter, what are 3 to 5 things that you look for in a good investment?
3 to 5 things that I look for every time. Number 1, the holy grail, cash flow. That's why I like real estate. Number 2, all the time, and it's critical, I'm looking for management expertise or experience and a track record of the operator. It's critical because without a good jockey on the horse, your business plan isn't worth anything. Number 3, I'm looking for some sort of patent, technological advancement, or some sort of locational or product advantage that the investment has over all of the other people in the space. If revenue can be diluted easily because there's a low barrier to entry and other people can come in quickly and duplicate what you're going to do, I'm not interested. Number 4, I'm looking for a simple and high likelihood of an exit, right? You want to be able to get your money out somehow. That can happen either through cash flow, through financings, through a sale, whatever it is. I want to make sure that the investment I'm choosing to put my money into is in a market that's a real market where there's real trades happening often with real players, right? If you're in some sort of weird market where there's not a whole lot of comps, not a whole lot of trades, and there's not a whole lot of movement in the waters, it's going to be tough to have an exit. Number 5, I'm looking at the overall macro sector. What industry is it in? Is it an essential business? We've talked a lot about that here, George. I want my investment to be at work in products or services that are in high demand, that are essential, that aren't likely to go away so easily when interest rates move, when the economic environment changes, when a pandemic hits, when all sorts of other conditions come into play. The safer your investment with the macro industry that you're choosing it to be in, the better off you're going to be. Those are my 5 things.
Fantastic. All right, Peter, I know you have a meeting to get to, so do you want to do one Zest Quest? And then
How many did you come here with?
I have 2, but...
Well, let's give me 2.
Okay, sounds good. All right, so first one is, what is a favorite failure of yours?
Oh, man, there's been so many. I mean, man, I've fallen on my face so many times. I mean, really, everything that's got me here to where I am now. I think I'm looking back and thinking back to when I was a kid. I've had business failures. I've had investment failures. We've spoken recently about 1 or 2. When I tried my luck at a .com investment. Yeah. I've had partnership failures. I've learned from those. I learned how not to have partnerships, and I learned how to have partnerships. I mean, all of those failures lead to something. I mean, and I love them and I embrace them. You can't have success in anything unless you fail a lot of times first. So to me, all of the failures are favorites of mine. I think back to as a kid when I behaved a certain way and I immediately got smacked down. You know, I got owned by whoever the person was that I wasn't acting right towards. And I remember each one of those times. And it helped shape me and my behaviors moving forward. I can remember one time I said something to a teacher when I was in college, and I regret it. I regret having said, I was obnoxious. I was obnoxious in a class, and I made a snide and obnoxious comment, and I thought I was being cute, and I wasn't. I sounded like a douche. But it helped me understand what not to do moving forward. I remember in a business that I was in early on with partnership issues, and the documents sort of said one thing, but the partnership was all behaving in a different way and without regard to the documents, and I didn't really know how to proceed, and I didn't really have control over things, and so I learned what not to do. I mean, that was a big failure for me in terms of having partnership relationships. Since then, I've had nothing but successful partnership relationships. And you need partners and you need relationships in life and in business. So I was really happy to have that failure because without it, I would have maybe duplicated the wrong thing multiple times, but I never did. I got it right every time thereafter, so I'm really grateful for the partnership failures. I had money failures when I was younger. I didn't know about money. I didn't know how to invest. I had to learn how to invest by having a few successes to refer to, being like, oh, I did well with that, let's just keep doing that. That's what real estate was for me. But until I had that aha moment, everything was sort of a trial and error at best and typically a failure.
And that really goes back to what was our second question when we talked about building the plane in the air, that, not letting fear of failure stop you from doing things, just accepting that failure is going to be part of it and that you can adjust and adapt from it.
Failure happens. You got to know it's going to happen when you wake up every day. What are you going to do about it? When I was younger, I didn't know what I was going to do about it. Looking back, I now see what I did about it. But if you were to ask me, my 18 or 21-year-old self, maybe I didn't have such a congealed and solid answer for you. But now at 52, I can look back and say, yeah, I learned from those failures. I kept going. I never duplicated the thing that was responsible for the failure to have occurred. And I learned from them. I mean, athletes, sprinters, they never break a world record the first time. You train for it, you build up to it, you fail 100 times, right? We spoke about the invention of the light bulb, how that took 10,001 efforts, right? There was a failure 10,000 time, and then on the 10,001st time, it was a success. I mean, you never can give up, and you have to expect no's and failures and punches in the face, and you have to expect to get bloodied up and beaten up and bruised, because that's what life is. The question is, what are you going to do with all that? Are you going to sit down and go back into your hole and crawl back into bed? Or are you going to fight on and drive on and create something for yourself and your family? Are you going to have successes? Are you going to insist that you're going to have successes and demand that you have successes? Well, the way that you insist and demand that success come your way is you don't give up, you keep going. And I always appreciate every failure. To me was an opportunity. Every single one. No failure ever owned me. I never failed at one thing and then stopped and said, well, I failed at it, so I never went back. I mean, that .com business, I never went back to .com because it was just a shitty decision for me. And I was able to recoup losses and recoup successes in other investments in businesses. But no failure should ever own you. No failure has ever owned me. And I tell everybody and recommend everybody just keep going and deal with your no's, deal with your failures, expect them to come. And I loved all of them. I mean, it's how you get from A to B. It's how you progress. It's how you grow. Failures are natural. They exist naturally in our world. They exist every day in your world. What are you going to do about it?
All right. Well, last question. 3 reasons you should be part of my zombie apocalypse team, Peter.
Of yours?
Mine. I'm formulating it now. What are 3 reasons you should be part of mine?
George, you want me on your zombie apocalypse team.
All right, sell it to me.
I've watched every episode of Nat Geo Preppers.
Fantastic.
I am quite skilled with firearms.
Excellent.
I'm quite skilled with hand-to-hand combat.
Cool.
And I'll give you more than 3, so now we're going on to 4.
Let's go on.
I'm resourceful in nature and in the environment. I can create fire from nothing. I can make water purified. I can make food where you never thought you could get food from. So I can feed you, protect you, kill your enemy, and make sure that you survive. You want me on your team.
Man, I'm sold.
Yeah.
All right. Fantastic.
Thanks, George.
Thank you, Peter. I'll see you next
All right.
week.